Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joy from Group 4017, and today my group will be presenting part 2 of our group project, Responding to Workplace Issues. In our presentation, I'll be presenting the summary of the diversity challenges that our interviewees faced. Angun and Brian will be presenting the diversity element recommendation our group has chosen. Wei-Jin and Shupeng will be presenting on the proposed D&I strategy and initiative. Last but not least, Kyla will be presenting on the proposed metric that measures the success of the strategy and the initiative. In the first table, some of the diversity challenges of Angun's, Brian's, and Shupeng's interviewees faced were: first, different food ethics across race. Friends of another race, religion, or ethnicity must put up with inconvenience to decide on a place to eat, and this can often result in arise tensions and conflicts. Second, national origin discrimination involving nationality. In the second table, some of the diversity challenges of Kaila's, Wei-Jin's, and my interviewees faced were: first, different viewpoints on values and beliefs across generation. Conflicts and arguments arise when different viewpoints based on controversial topics clashes one another coming from different generation. Second, racism, microaggression, and stereotype involving race. In summary, the diversity challenges that our interviewees faced were: gender stereotype, different food ethics, national origin discrimination, different viewpoints on values and beliefs, and lastly, racism, microaggression, and stereotype involving race. And hence, in our presentation, we'll be mainly focusing on the diversity element race, and I'll pass the time now to the next presenter, Angun.
The diversity element that we have chosen to focus on is race. As of 2022, Singapore's current population stands at 5,945,237 people. Out of the population, 75.9% are Chinese, 15% are Malays, and 7.5% are Indian, whereas the remaining 1.6% are other races. So, why did we choose racial diversity? In March 2022, CNA conducted a survey on what people would do if they were being confided in by a colleague who has been racially discriminated against at work. The results collected were surprisingly disappointing. 48.8%, combining lightly and extremely lightly, chose to advise their colleague to keep silent, and 20.3%, combining lightly and extremely lightly, chose to advise their colleague to not complain and accept it as a fact. This result is disappointing, as discrimination in or out of the workplace should not be tolerated or taken lightly, as it may or will affect one's willingness to continue working at the workplace. Every Singaporean citizen, or even PRs, should know the Singapore's national pledge by heart. As seen above, the words highlighted in bold states, "As one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion," and based on justice and equality. How is justice and equality portrayed when discrimination towards races is still happening in 2022? Here are two examples of when racial discrimination occurred in Singapore at an individual level. The first incident occurred in September 2021 when the managing agent of Hillview Heights condominium was flagged by the Security Association Singapore for discriminating against non-Mandarin speakers. A tender by Savills Property Management had stipulated that a security agent company must provide a Chinese-speaking security guard, with penalties for not complying, including a warning letter and a deduction of $100 per shift. This is unfair to non-Chinese speaking people, as people of other races are not given equal job opportunities. The next incident was a racial discrimination which occurred in June 2021 when an ex-Ngee Ann Polytechnic lecturer was filmed hurling racist insults at an interracial couple along the streets of Orchard Road. This incident clearly shows that there are still racist people in Singapore, despite the diverse society we live and grew up in.
Thank you, Angun. Let's further break down these examples of racial discrimination just mentioned. Racial discrimination occurs in both the individual and the company level. What's the problem with hiring in Singapore, you may ask? Well, according to a questionnaire done online in 2021, 6.3% of people reported being discriminated because their race did not satisfy their employer's needs. This has always been a company culture issue, with a lack of training and exposure. As Singapore is a generally conservative society, many traditions and beliefs that another's race is less superior are still present in society till this day. Unfortunately, this leads to unconscious bias and stereotypes reinforced within this same workplace, which is unhealthy and still at the company level. Well, now let's talk about the second example. The second problem is the lack of communication. When addressing racial issues or clarifying doubts, one must always choose their words wisely to prevent unwanted acts of microaggression. This is especially the case with a lecturer claiming there is no such thing as racism. Lecturers' lack of self control confronting this interracial couple is a major communication breakdown. Words are said in the spur of the moment and may not be well phrased, leading to misunderstandings such as this. Encouraging such behaviors or public shaming because of how one person's skin color is different to their own must stop now. Let's find out some statistics on whether Singapore is doing enough to minimize discrimination and educate its citizens both on the individual level and on the company level. Firstly, Singapore is stepping up its measures to prevent workplace discrimination over race. Currently, Singapore recommends its employees facing discrimination to approach the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices group. However, many of these companies are let off the hook. There's no real enforcement in Singapore's constitution that can easily be seen and used to reassure Singaporeans. In April 2022, the Institute of Policy Studies, IPS, agreed that having stricter laws against workplace discrimination is desperately needed to curb these degrading behaviors. According to another survey done by Kantar, a data insights and consulting firm, 14 to 21% of minorities felt like they were being treated unfairly. Ultimately, this contributed to the second worst global rating for Singapore for workplace diversity. Therefore, currently, I think Singapore has a long way to go to truly be an effective and inclusive society for all of its residents.
Our D&I statement is as follows. Here, at Company X, we aspire to create a diverse and inclusive workplace where everyone is treated equally no matter the differences. We strongly believe that this plays an integral part in our company's success and strive for variety in our workforce. By aspiring to create a workplace with diversity and inclusivity, we can limit the amount of discrimination that occurs. Others will also be more likely to speak up when they see discrimination take place. Having variety will help deal with the hiring issue, as our workforce will consist of unique and different people, and there will not be a minority group. This will overall help the company's success, as everyone will view each other as equals and will be more likely to communicate and work together as a team. How do we fix a hiring problem in the workplace? Well, we must go to the root cause, which is bias in the hiring process. So how do we eliminate bias during the hiring process? Well, one way is to have a structured interview process. This means that every interviewee will be asked the same questions, and if possible, the order in which the questions are asked should also remain the same. This helps to remove variation and make sure that there are no biases from the interviewer. Another way is to have blind auditions. The goal of blind auditions is to remove factors that can influence our final decisions and be affected by our biases like race, age, gender, religion, etc. Now, why remove these factors? So we can focus on what actually matters, the skills, knowledge, and other assets related to the job. Last way is to ensure that the interviewer is fully aware of their own biases. To achieve this, we can make them take a bias test. By doing so, the interviewer will be aware of what their own unconscious bias is, and they will have to be more critical of their own thinking to make certain that their unconscious bias does not affect their final decisions in deciding what to do with the interviewee. So, how can eliminating bias help with the hiring problem? Well, it will ensure that the company will have more unique individuals, making sure the workplace is more diverse. Interviewers will also not be easily influenced by their biases. This means that everybody gets a fair and equal opportunities. Gap Jumpers, a design company based in California, United States, have developed a solution to eliminate bias during the hiring process. It is known as blind hiring. By replicating the academically verified orchestral study, blind auditions, it screens interviewees solely based on performance and do not let other factors affect their decisions. Currently, until 2022, they have made up to 170,000 bias-free decisions and uncovered more than 65% of diversity.
Diversity training is an intentional professional training designed to develop skills needed to facilitate working and interacting with people from diverse cultural backgrounds. A diversity training program aims to boost employees' awareness about different types of diversity, appreciating differences among co-workers, and provide knowledge and strategy. Now, how can diversity training help? By going through diversity training, both the employers and employees are able to react accordingly to any situations they may land themselves in. Going back to the example shown in the previous slides of the Polytechnic lecturer commenting racist remarks. The lecturer could have acted accordingly and avoided the conflict altogether. Look at Accenture. Accenture's diversity training can be broken down into three categories. The first being diversity awareness, to help people understand the benefits of working with a diverse organization. Second, diversity management, to equip executives to manage diverse teams. And lastly, professional development, to enable women, LGBT. With a well-developed and effective diversity training, Accenture's employee satisfaction percentage is at an extreme high of 90%, compared to a typical company with a percentage of 57%. And these are some of the awards Accenture has won for the last 2 years.
The first metric I'll be talking about is on hiring. The goal by 2030 is to have at least 37% of the new employees hired from the minority group. This data will be shown using statistics and demographics, as it is easy and simple to see and read. And it is also easy to compare data using demographic and statistics. Coca-Cola ensures to track and share their progress made, with their goals to have their employee population aligned with the US Census data that states that there should be at least 13% Black employees, 16% Hispanic employees, and 6% Asian employees. Data shows that Coca-Cola has exceeded their main goal to have 37%. The second metric I will be talking about is communication. The goal is to have an extremely good communication network within the company and improving interpersonal communications between the management and employees by 2025. This data would be shown using surveys done by Coca-Cola's employees. Surveys allow us to ask. Coca-Cola's CEO created a communication council that would represent the senior management of the company that would essentially use live video feeds, audio, and video conferencing, broadcast voicemails and emails to relay information to their employees. The employees showed an overwhelming response towards the live videos and are extremely satisfied with these